Welcome to this video. Two guys who allegedly are retired are going to sit and chat about our adult forum series that were started last week. But before we do that, John, welcome back. And
Thank you.
understand you've been in a pretty fascinating city and enjoyed it. Why don't you just share a little bit about your road trip?
Right. Uh, we went to New Orleans. We were last there about 32 years ago and promised ourselves that someday we would go back to New Orleans. Had such a great time. And this month was Sunday. So we had 3 days on the road. We drove down the Great River Road to New Orleans. And then on the recommendation of friends, we stayed at a hotel in the French Quarter.
Ah,
And if you knew New Orleans, it was half a block from Jackson Square, which is the heart of the French Quarter. And we spent 5 days and we walked everywhere.
mm.
And we walked 3 miles a day and did all the things that tourists are supposed to do in New Orleans.
Did you get your
So it
baguette?
really was. Yes, beignets,
Yep.
poor boys, um, hurricanes,
Mm.
um, certainly the riverboat, the World War II Museum, which I would highly recommend.
Mm.
Uh, the aquarium, the zoo, preservation hall, the
Wow.
jazz museum.
Wonderful.
It was
Wonderful.
a full week.
And the weather was nice, right?
We had one day that was miserable and rainy. The rest of the days sunny and 70s.
Okay. So you have prepared New Orleans for an onslaught this coming summer of some 20 to 30,000 young people at the youth gathering, and hopefully some folks from St. Luke's will be there as well. Uh, so Sunday we began the Adult Forum series, and it's about questions that we have, that older adults have. Um, and what I tried to do this past Sunday in talking about our baptism was frame this in a way that talks about Jesus, who said, "I came that you might have life and have life abundantly." So these questions are about how full a life can we have, and how does Jesus, our into who we were baptized, um, journey with us. Um, a person is body, soul, and spirit. And so when we need health or hospice care, for instance, it's not just about the body, but it's about being taken care of in our soul, our that which makes me me, that I'm still there. I'm a whole person. And spirit, the life of God in us. So, John, why don't you just kind of highlight the various different opportunities we're going to have in the next few weeks at this adult forum, and hopefully we'll be able to Zoom. So watch our communications for that to get a link.
Well, certainly. There's a way in which I see this as related to the trip to New Orleans. As I said, we were there 30 years ago and said someday we're coming back.
Mm.
Well, there's a lot in our lives that someday, someday we should think about where we'll live when our present housing no longer meets our needs. And someday we should talk about our finances, what we need to live fully in retirement. And someday we should look at financial planning so that we can hand on our resources in a way which is consistent with our faith and our values. And someday we should identify people we trust who can care for us financially and physically uh, as we need that kind of help. And someday, really, we should plan for the way in which we want to celebrate our lives for our funeral, our memorial service. So this series is about that. Someday, it's today to address those issues.
Hmm.
And it's a series for seniors, for pre-seniors, because these conversations certainly can begin in the 30s, 40s, 50s. It doesn't have to wait till we're 70.
Mhm.
And it's a series too for people who care about seniors. And
Yeah.
we're bringing in some serious resource persons to help us in the conversation. So I'm looking at a list here, and we have Gail Henderson from Baptist Village, Central Baptist rather, who will be helping us look at questions about housing. What are our housing options? John English uh, from this congregation will be helping us look at planned giving, looking at creating a will. Dr. Tim McCurry will be
Mhm.
with us as we talk about healthcare decisions. And then we will be ending with myself and Ann Krentz Organ talking about funeral planning. How do we celebrate the resurrection and the grace of God given to us through our lives in the context of a worshiping congregation? So we have lots of someday things we can talk about over the next 5 weeks. And we really hope people will join us in a conversation here in the conference room. Or, as you said, if we get the technology working, also put it on Zoom.
It sounds like something terrific. Someone once explained to me that they felt like Christian education was the ability to step out into wider worlds, and this is our world. And I just finally took care of one of my some days. Jan and I just made a will and created a trust so that we could enact the things you talked about, continuing our life of praising God's generosity with how we use our resources when we're with God in heaven, and what hymns do we want to sing us to heaven, and those kinds of things. So thank you, John, and thanks for your leadership on this, and all of you out there. We'd love to see you. And we will try to have this Zoom, but also then recorded so that maybe it's available for you also on Facebook. So God's peace to you, John, and to all of you.